Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Maya and today I'm gonna be ranking every trial in Danganronpa 2 Goodbye Despair, with the 6th place being the worst, meanwhile the 1st place being the best. Keep in mind that this ranking is based on my personal opinions, so I might be biased at some point throughout the video. And obviously, content warning, this video contains spoilers for Danganronpa 2 Goodbye Despair, as well as mentions of death, suicide, etc. Anyways, without further ado, let's get into the video. Number 6. Trial 3, in which the victims were Hiyoko and Ibuki, meanwhile the culprit was Mikan. Ugh, this is the only trial in Danganronpa 2 that I absolutely despise. Literally, everything was wrong in here. I cannot find a single positive aspect of this trial. Maybe except for Nagito, but it's like, his existence is enough for me. Alright? But that doesn't count. Let's start with the motive, which was the despair disease, being the most unrealistic and foolish motive ever. Because of it, from the very beginning of the chapter, I already knew who the killer will be, since Mikan was the nurse taking care of everyone who fell sick. It gave her the perfect opportunity to successfully murder someone. But even so, her murder plan also triggered me, as the idea of her recording that video and then Hajime being able to see it in the perfect timing was so unrealistic. I know I probably shouldn't take it so seriously, but I can't help it annoyed me. Another thing is the fact that Hiyoko died. I know. Most of you hate her, but hear me out. After the second trial, she was finally getting some serious character development, but no. They just decided to kill her off. Nice. And you know what sealed how terrible that chapter was? The execution. It was tragic. Just tragic. I never want to see it again. Never. Number 5. Trial 4, in which the victim was Nekomaru, meanwhile the culprit was Gundam. I really had a problem with the ranking, since I loved every single trial in this game, with trial 3 being the only exception. Nevertheless, I decided to put Trial 4 on the 5th place for one reason. It annoyed me how long it took the characters to figure out how the funhouse worked. Like, it took me a few glances at the drawing to understand its functioning, but whatever. Back to the case. I think Gundam's murder plan was one of the most genius plans in the series. If not for a tiny little mistake he's made, I don't think anyone would figure out who the killer was. Not to mention his motive, since he killed Nekomaru so that his 4 Dark Davis of Destruction wouldn't starve to death. He even tried to protect them during the execution. I swear to God, that was just too precious and too beautiful to even look at. And well, I gotta say that what I loved about this trial as well was obviously Nagito, cause, you know, he really carried another trial, plus him dissing Hajime delivered a huge comedic relief. God, I'm so in love with this man, I need help. Number 4. Trial 6. This is probably my favorite final trial of the franchise. As a Hajime fan, I need to focus on him first. His character development during this trial was on point. Don't get me wrong, he's been an amazing character throughout the entire game, but Trial 6 just proved he's the best protagonist of the series. Sorry, not sorry. This trial felt special as we got to see familiar faces since Makoto, Kyoko, and Byakuya showed up to explain what the hell has been going on. Oh, and there was also Junko, but I don't really want to talk about her. Anyways, I loved this trial as it made me feel every single emotion possible. It made me laugh, it made me cry, got me confused, and well, in shock. The plot twist was perfect, and all I can say is that it didn't disappoint. Number 3. Trial 2, in which the victim was Mahiru, meanwhile the culprit was Peko. This trial left me in tears. I gotta say, Fuyuhiko's character development after this trial was chef's kiss. Him crying over Peko broke my heart. I find their relationship absolutely precious. There was only one thing I found kind of far-fetched in this trial, And I mean the fact that Peko killed Mahiro so that Fuyuhiko wouldn't get executed, but then she did try to frame Hiyoko, which eventually would get Fuyuhiko killed in the end, right? Maybe I'm overthinking, I don't know. Back to the topic. Many people might not agree with me, but I personally really liked the motive in this chapter, which was a video game that we had to go through. I really enjoyed it, as it reflected events that actually happened in real life. But what I liked best about this trial is the fact that it made me love Fuyuhiko even more. Besides that, Peko's execution is one of the best executions in the entire Danganronpa franchise. It was spectacular, emotional, and intense, not to mention the soundtrack being absolutely perfect. Number 2, Trial 5. In which the victim was Nagito, meanwhile the culprit was... well, technically Nagito, as he planned out his own death, but it was Chiaki who's elected as the Blackened. So, Nagito is my favorite character, right? And well, surprise, surprise! I cried after the body discovery. This entire trial, as well as the investigation, messed me up. Even so, I still decided to put it on the second place. First of all, Nagito's plan blew my mind, proving he has 200 IQ, come and fight me. No, but for real though. This entire trial was very engaging since Nagito tried to make an unsolvable case. I personally had no idea what was going on throughout the entire trial since I was convinced there was no way Nagito could possibly do all of that to himself. This trial left me sad, confused, and agitated. Oh, and there's also Chiaki, who confessed to being a traitor. Well, I won't be lying if I say I've never been a big fan of her, but it was heartbreaking to see everyone mourn over the ultimate gamer. As for the execution, it was absolutely great. The Tetris, Space Invaders, and Pac-Man reference made the entire thing even more exciting. Number 1, Trial 1. In which the victim was the ultimate imposter, meanwhile the culprit was Teru. I don't think I'm gonna surprise anyone when I say I love this trial because of Nagito. Him losing his composure and breaking the character made me absolutely fall in love with him. Nagito simply carried most of the trials, but I don't think I have to convince anyone that if it wasn't for Nagito, this trial wouldn't even happen, as he was the one who forced Teru into killing. His plan wasn't flawless since his classmates figured out his involvement quite quickly, although he still carried it out. Teru, on the other hand, was totally hilarious when cornered. Him losing his cool and talking in a rather interesting accent delivered a huge comic relief to the trial. Even though Teru is not very popular among Danganronpa fans, I'm sure everyone felt at least a little sympathy towards him after he explained why he cannot die, as his death would hurt his beloved mother. As for the execution, it wasn't that special, but what I need to mention is the soundtrack that accompanied it. It simply slapped. So that was it. Thank you all so much for watching. Feel free to share your personal rankings of the trials in the comment section down below. I hope you enjoyed the video and see you in the next one.